Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. I'm Danielle and I'm the owner of Damn Fancy Creations and the Drunk Flamingo Glitter. I am still trying to get over a cold that I had this past week, so if my voice is a little scratchy or goes in and out, I apologize, but we are going to get through this tutorial. In today's tutorial, we are going to be doing another snow globe tumbler, also using another tumbler charm from Cami Page Boutique. I am loving all of these tumbler charms that she has come out with, especially this little snow globe snowman. I remember when Brooke sent me her little sketch that she did when she had the idea for this snow globe snowman, and I was already so excited as soon as she sent that to me, and I love it even more in person. It just makes for a super fun tumbler. Everything you see here will be covered in today's tutorial, but if you guys ever have questions, please feel free to ask in the comment section. Don't forget to check out the description where I list all items you will need to recreate this tumbler, as well as discount codes for my favorite suppliers. We're going to go ahead and get started on this tutorial, but before we do, don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell. So here are the different parts we're going to be using. This is the little snowman. I already spray painted him white. And this is the little snow globe belly. There are 3 parts: the backing, the top, and then the little center ring that allows for the liquid and glitter. So I always like to paint my charms white, even if I'm going to paint them a different color, just because it allows the color to pop. So I am going to glitter my little snowman, but I don't want the glitter like typical glitter, like the fuzzy glitter. I want it slick glitter. So we're going to use the Artistic Painting Studio adhesive. This is basically like a tack it. I typically use this for foils, but I'm going to apply it to my snowman, and we are going to apply our glitter. And the reason why I'm applying my glitter this way is so I can burnish that glitter into the snowman and make it really smooth, so that applying the epoxy will be a lot easier. I think it will also just give a cleaner look and feel to the snowman overall. And you just need a little bit, and I'm just carefully going in between the buttons, his scarf, and all of his little facial features. I did decide to go ahead and paint his eyes, nose, mouth, and buttons before I added the glitter, because I got to thinking, like, after I apply the glitter and then I try to paint his little nose and mouth, I may accidentally get some black onto the glitter, and I did not want that to happen. So I tried a paint pen, I think I tried a Sharpie, and I actually ended up using a dotting tool dipped in black acrylic paint. This was the easiest way that I was able to color his eyes, nose, mouth, and buttons. So after I have his eyes, nose, and mouth all colored, I'm going to continue to go in with the adhesive and just carefully place that adhesive in between all of the little black items that we just painted. And if you guys are not familiar with this type of adhesive, it stays tacky even once dried. That's why it's good for foils and for burnishing glitter. but you do have to make sure that the adhesive dries really well before you apply your foil or your glitter. You don't want to apply the glitter or foil when the adhesive is still wet, because then it won't work correctly. So after I get the adhesive on my snowman, I'm just going to let him sit. You can use a heat gun on low to help speed the drying process, but I just went ahead and started working on my tumbler while this adhesive was drying. All right, so y'all can see that I'm just using a really tiny paintbrush just to get really good around the little facial features and buttons. So we're just going to set him to the side, try not to touch him. Now we're going to get out our tumbler. This is the snow globe tumbler. It comes in 2 parts, and I am going to wrap the interior part with vinyl. And I am just cutting a sheet of vinyl that is the width and height that I need it, just like you would if you were wrapping a normal tumbler. So I'm going to take my cup cradle, also by Cami Page Boutique, to draw a straight line. And then we're going to peel back a little bit of our vinyl and cut the backing. This is going to act as a hinge. And I'm placing this vinyl kind of right underneath that silver lip, so that when everything is put together, we're not going to see a white gap between the vinyl and the silver rim. There's my little vacuum that Rachel made me again. Isn't it so pretty? And I had some glitter on my vinyl as well, so I'm just cleaning this all off. So now once my vinyl is on straight, I'm just going to smooth it down and remove that backing. Then I'm going to cut slits in the bottom so that it is easier for me to kind of wrap that bottom. So I'm just going to use my heat gun. We're going to smooth out that vinyl, make sure everything is adhered well. And then we're warming up these little bottom pieces just to make it easier to bend over the bottom. When the vinyl is warm, it's a little more flexible, which makes it easier to wrap the bottom. So now, if you guys have watched my tutorials in the past, I try to disguise my vinyl seams if I can. So this particular pattern, we just kind of cut some of these snow globes in half. So now I'm just cutting out the other half of the snow globes and attaching them to the vinyl that's on our tumbler. And so we're just cutting out the other halves and then sticking them on there. So you're not really going to be able to see the seam. I do this almost every time I do a vinyl wrap, unless it's kind of like a busy geometric pattern and you can't really see the seam anyway. And once we get our little snow globes on there, we're just going to set this to the side. I am going to take this downstairs and we are just going to epoxy this part. We're going to leave it detached, put it on our turner, and just epoxy over that vinyl that we just applied, so that that vinyl is going to be protected when we add the snow globe liquid. So this adhesive has had a good time to dry, so I'm just pouring some glitter on and I'm just burnishing it into that adhesive with my fingers. I decided to try out some brushes. This one was a little too fluffy, so I did end up grabbing a coarser brush. Usually when I do this type of method, I just use my fingers to burnish it in, but the Snowman had a lot of little cracks and crevices, and a brush did help burnish that glitter into all of these little sections. And if you are burnishing glitter, a extra fine glitter works best. This is Classic Gin Fizz from my shop, The Drunk Flamingo. I believe this is either 0.08 or 0.04. I can't remember. But it's very tiny. But you guys can already see just the difference of burnishing glitter. It just kind of looks shiny and shimmery versus like glitter that was just poured on something, if that makes sense. And once we get all of our glitter burnished in our little snowman, I am going to get some paint. So for this one, I decided to use a light pink and a mint green. I thought that both of those colors went well with the vinyl that was on our tumbler. So we are just painting him just like we would paint anything else. It's best to do thin coats so that it dries quickly. And I think I did a total of 3 coats for both of these colors, I think. I just wanted to make sure that all of my white was covered. I'm still debating on going back and blinging his little hat. I might do that. I haven't decided yet, but I think that would be really cute, or at least bling part of it. And then I did his little buttons pink. I just used this little brush. I just carefully kind of went around the edges. Or maybe I only did 2 coats of each color. It might have been 2. So now we're going to do his little scarf. So I just used skinny brushes and I just took my time. These little parts are pretty small. So once we're finished painting him, we're just going to set him to the side, let him dry completely. So both of these tumblers have been epoxied now, just the vinyl part. So now we're going to attach the plastic tube onto the metal barrel. So I'm going to use Artistry's Hyperspeed Epoxy. And you can use an adhesive if you want to. I just opted to use this quick setting epoxy because I know it would set really quick. And that's what I was aiming for. So I'm just mixing up, I believe it was like 10 or 15 mils of each part. And then we're just going to mix it together. And Cash is whining because Birdie is blocking the door and he can't get out of the porch. And he sees a squirrel. So I don't ever mix for a certain amount of time. I really just mix until I can't see any more striations. And once I can't see any more striations, I know it's ready to go. So we're just going to pour this epoxy in that metal cavity. So the section in between the metal tube and the silver kind of cap, that's where we're pouring this epoxy so that when we put the plastic tube on top, everything is going to be sealed in well. So I'm going to slide the plastic tube on over this vinyl wrapped metal section, and that plastic part is going to fit right down in that metal cap. I just kind of turn it a little bit to make sure that that epoxy is touching everything, and then we are going to set these to the side and let them cure. So while those are curing, we're going to work on our snow globe belly for our snowman. So I decided that I wanted to go fairly simple with my snowman belly, and I just painted the back of the snowman, or his little belly part, I guess. We're just doing that a light pink. And so this is basically going to be the backing of our snow globe part for our snowman. I just wanted it a color. I didn't want it a pattern vinyl or glitter or anything like that. I just wanted it pink. And I wanted it a little bit lighter than his hat. So I let that dry a little bit, and now we're going to do a second coat. And then I think I dried this with my heat gun, and now we're doing a third coat. This was pretty light. I wanted to make sure I had good coverage since this was going to be the star of the show, or star of the Tumbler. So next we're going to take the backing off of our acrylic blank. This is going to be the back part of our snow globe. And then we're going to take the backing off of the little connector piece. And I am going to sand that little connector piece just so it's scuffed up a little bit and can grip the slick acrylic. So I'm just roughing up both sides of this little connector, and then I'm just going to clean it with some alcohol. And to connect them, I'm just going to put a small amount of UV resin just on the edge of the clear circle. And then we're going to place this connector piece on top. And I am going to set my adhesive on top just so I know that it is all connected well. It's easy to press down on that adhesive so that I know that the connector is connected to the bottom blank. And then I'm just going to cure this for about 2 minutes. And once that is cured, I set it in there just to make sure it still fit. And then we're going to add a little bit of glitter. I just used the same glitters that I plan on using for my snow globe, which is Topo Chico and Kinky Blow Pop. And then I'm adding a few peppermint sprinkles. We're just doing some pinks and greens just to match our color scheme. And once we have all of our little goodies in the snow globe belly, we are going to apply UV resin to the top of the connector. And then we're going to place the final circle on top. I'm just going to try to get it as even as I can. And then I'm just holding it down with my finger while I cure it with my light. So now we're going to use our glitter juice. This is also from Cami Page Boutique. I like to fill mine up with a little needle nose bottle. I learned the hard way when I was making snow globes that the bottles do not fit in the little hole. So the needle nose bottles work best. And I am leaving a little bit of airspace for my little snow globe belly. Then I'm cleaning the top with alcohol. And I'm just going to place a small amount of UV resin on top where the hole is so we can plug that hole. And I always have my light ready. So as soon as I put that UV resin on, I cure it. Make sure it fits in there, and voila. Look at his little snow globe belly, y'all. It's so cute. I love it. So now we're going to put some clear UV resin in the snow globe belly. And we're going to put our snow globe in there, and then I'm going to cure this. I opted to use UV resin instead of a adhesive just so that everything looked right. I don't know. I didn't want it to look like there was an air bubble or anything underneath that snow globe. Sometimes adhesives make things look funny, so I just decided to use my UV resin. So now I'm trying to decide where I'm going to put my little snowman, kind of what I wanted to do with it. So we're just adding our adhesive. I'm just using E6000 because it is a tacky adhesive and it does dry pretty quickly. And I placed my snowman about a ½ inch from the bottom because I know that I wanted to add some snow underneath him, like he was sitting on snow instead of just like floating on my tumbler. So I'm just applying some glitter snow with a popsicle stick, and I'm just kind of mounding it up underneath him and then tapering it off. So it just looks like he was sitting on a snowdrift. So I'm just placing my snow now, and then I'm going to go in with my silicone tool and kind of shape that snow a little bit. So we're just adding some peaks. And I like to use silicone tools when I'm using the glitter snow because they're much easier to clean than paintbrushes. So once that dries, I'm going to add some glitter juice. We're using the Slow AF glitter juice because I like my glitter to stay suspended for as long as possible. And I add some glitter juice before I add the glitter. That way the glitter is not going to be caked to the top of the tumbler. And I'm just adding the colors that we already used, which is Topo Chico and Kinky Blow Pop. And I think I added a little bit of gold as well. And I just pour mine in a funnel and then kind of like tap my tumbler, and it seems to fall down the cup pretty easily. And I just kind of shake it a little bit just to see if I need to add some more glitter. I think I was pretty happy with the amount that I had. So I'm going to fill this the rest of the way up, and then I'm going to let it sit overnight so that the air rises to the top. No air bubbles are going to be trapped. So this is the next day. These are both of the snow globes I was working on. There was a little bubble trapped in this one, so I was just knocking on the tumbler to get that air bubble to come to that hole. If you guys have a massager, they also work great at getting bubbles to rise to the top. I just did not feel like going downstairs and grabbing mine. So we're just getting rid of the air bubbles, and I'm filling up any space with a couple drops from my needle nose bottle. And then I'm going to clean off the bottoms really well with alcohol. And then for these tumblers, I am going to plug the hole with packing tape. I've also used acetate in the past and just different things. I like to show y'all different ways to do things. If you are going to use packing tape, you have to make sure that it is sealed really well and that your tumbler is clean. If you try to put packing tape down and there's still liquid around that hole, it's not going to stick well. So next we are going to glitter our bottoms. I am just squirting a little bit of UV resin on the bottom of each tumbler, and then we're going to sprinkle just a little bit of glitter on there. I try to use translucent glitter when I can. This gold obviously is opaque, but I'm just using a little bit. These are going to be very thin layers. You want your layers to be thin so that that UV light will cure it. And if you are using opaque glitter, you need to be very sparing, because if you use too much glitter, then your UV resin layer is not going to cure correctly. I am also going to be putting logo tags on the bottom. These are from Mizzy's Doodles. And I am just using a Posca paint pen just to color in my logo so that the text actually pops a little bit more on the logo tag itself. So now we're just mixing up that glitter and UV resin. And then we're just going to bring that UV resin to the sides of the tumbler. We're doing the same thing for this tumbler. And then we're going to remove the backing paper from the logo tags. And we're going to pop them in the center of our tumbler bottoms. So here's one. You can see that black really helps that gold pop. The rose gold on this slate one did not turn out as rose gold as I wanted it to, but I think that's because the tumbler tag was already pretty dark. So we're going to place these in the center, and then I'm going to pop bubbles with my little mini torch. And then we're going to cure them. And y'all can tell how thin these layers are, that they are not even as thick as this tumbler tag. So you just want thin layers for the bottom. And once this is cured, we are going to go and add a clear layer on top of this glitter layer, just so that the bottom is just as smooth and shiny as the rest of the tumbler. So once I get this bottom cured, I'm going to take these tumblers downstairs and apply 2 coats of epoxy. I did not film myself epoxying these tumblers, but if you guys have not seen me epoxy a 3D tumbler before, you can check out some of my other tutorials. I do like to use a paintbrush to get in all of the cracks and crevices, as well as these silicone tools like this. These little silicone tools were really handy when it comes to the tree branches or other areas that may have deep crevices that you can't reach with your fingers, and silicone tools are so much easier to clean. So I like to apply 2 to 3 layers of epoxy. And once you get your bottoms done, and once you epoxy the body of your tumblers, they will be complete. Oh, and I did forget that I did put a decal on this one. So hold up, we have not epoxied yet. Or maybe we have epoxied one layer and then I decided to add a decal. I can't remember. But this is a little decal that I put together. I just wanted something on the other side. And y'all can see how I like changed my mind mid decal. I was gonna put these little pink dots on the little white dots, but I decided to leave the white dots just white, so they kind of looked like snowballs. And this S was kind of wonky, obviously. Sometimes, especially when you do a thin offset, don't match up as perfectly as you want them to. That's why I try to do just like one word at a time. So we did the snow, and then the it, and then the let. And I just like to use my pen to kind of shift things around if I need to shift them. And since we had our little snowman on there, I could not get him to lay flat. See, I was clearly having trouble with all of my decals. They wouldn't stick to the transfer tape. My letters were coming up. So I just held this cup in my lap and applied the decal because I could not get him to lay straight on the cup cradle, obviously, because there was a snowman. And then we had to go put our little white circles that came off and our little T that came off. But it turned out cute, so I was happy with it. So then we're going to epoxy it, and here is a cute little video of it. I think it was so cute, but I still feel like it needs some rhinestone somewhere, maybe around the snow globe part and like the brim of his hat, I think. But I love these little snow globes because when they're shaken up, of course, they look super cute, but sometimes after the glitter falls, it just doesn't really look like too much. But if we have a pattern vinyl interior, it still looks cute even if the glitter isn't floating around everywhere. If you guys decide to try a snow globe or have this adorable snowman tumbler charm from Cami Page Boutique, please post and share in my groups because I love to see what y'all come up with. And I hope y'all enjoyed this tutorial. If you enjoyed this tutorial or learned something new, please be sure to like, subscribe, and share. Don't forget to catch the next video coming up that was picked just for you. As always, if you're looking for more tips, tricks, or tutorials, be sure to check out my tutorial group, Drunk Flamingo Glitter Group, or my Damn Fancy Tribe. All are linked in the description. Thanks for watching.